Oh, just so professional from us.
I know. And
As
it
always.
never changes. Just
Never
unbelievable.
changes.
The picture of professionalism. Welcome to A Nice Place to Brew. I'm Jason.
And I'm George.
And we have a full house tonight. First, I'd like to introduce to the listeners Brian from Blue Island Beer Company in Blue Island, Illinois. Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. We have with us Scott from WNY Brews.
Hey, guys. Thank you.
And he needs no introduction. We have Mr. Pauly from the JBG, from the OG13, from all the important things.
Probably the Illuminati. Who knows?
Yes, exactly. I'm sure those are things we can't talk about.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that offline.
Okay, all right.
We start off each show, Brian, talking about what we are currently drinking. And what the four of us all have is a beer from you guys, from Blue Island Beer Company. So let's take a moment and introduce the Five Bridge Kolsch Style Ale to everybody. And this is quite the well-decorated can. Whoever does your artwork does really impressive work.
Well, thank you. That particular picture was just right down next to our brewery. It's a unique intersection down here. There's 5 different train lines that all cross right there. It's really geometrically, it's really a cool shot. But that was a picture my wife shot.
Oh,
so, yeah,
nice.
We figured it really captured Blue Island. Everybody gets stopped by trains around here, so they partially love them and partially hate them.
You know, I think the one time I was down in that area, I got stopped by a train. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, that tracks. Yeah.
And a special thank you to
around Brian's place.
Yeah, a special thank you to Pauly for this, because all the four of us have this same can in front of us, so we get to.
Speaking of which, I have to go to my fridge and get it. But I'll be right back.
Sure. Scott, you got yours too?
I do. I always pride myself on having the correct glass for a beer, but I don't have any stanges here. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced.
Stanges.
Yeah, stange, right?
Okay.
So I'm going just in a tall Pilsner glass.
Right.
Pours
How can I not have
very
a stange?
clean. There he is. Paul, you got yours too?
Right here.
Oh, wait.
I'm finishing up my first beer first.
There we go.
All right.
Getting
All
ready
right.
Shall we?
Guys.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Okay. The first
Pretty darn good.
First word that comes to mind is clean.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's one of the best things that somebody drinking a beer of ours could say for sure.
Yeah, and
Especially with a German. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, especially with something like a German ale, it's something that the Germans take very seriously. So to have a part of that in that beer is great.
Job well done.
And that's part of where my question was going, because you know, with the German beer makers, sometimes they frown upon filtering and things like that. Do you guys do any filtering on your beer? Because it is quite clear.
No, we don't actually. So we refine our beers. And you know, throughout the years I've changed what we use, but yeah, we just let sediment and time kind of take over on that. So we like the idea of it being clear for sure. It's a Kolsch, it really does need to be, but it's nice to have it that way just through a little bit of fining and sedimentation, just time.
Sure. Okay.
So, and then that yeast actually does really well with time too. It acts a little bit like a lager yeast and picks up some flavors that make it end up cleaning up the beer.
What's in that glass of yours?
I'm actually drinking something that we were going to do for the Frankfurt Bluegrass Fest that Pauly was a part of. This is our it's a Mexican lager coming up, but it's a nice 5.5%. Hopefully, it's nice as clear as the Kolsch is. But we're doing that and a Vienna lager on top of it, so a light dark thing. We're going to do a
Okay.
comic book hero villain thing with a local artist with it. It's going to be cool.
Nice.
All right.
Partial to Vienna lagers myself. I like
Yeah,
how
yeah.
they. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
That's true.
So, have you guys decided on a name for that Mexican lager?
We haven't yet. They're generically still called just the hero and the villain.
Okay.
But we haven't got the inspiration yet. Which it reminds me of your final quote on your show is takes a lot of good beer to make great beer. Well, it takes a lot of good beer to come up with some good ideas too.
Yep. It does at that. Yeah.
Well
I know a few
said.
names you could probably avoid, but they're
Oh, of
already
course.
copyrighted anyway. So
So we'll come up with something interesting, I'm sure.
So, Brian, how are you faring throughout now? We're in like week 7 or week 8 of the quarantine.
It's interesting. Initially we had no idea how it was going to go. So, but we were so pleasantly surprised by the amount of support that the local Blue Island and the surrounding communities have been to us, especially even further out with ordering stuff online. Our distribution basically has gone to nothing. It's ground to a halt, but we're still able to put out beer and take care of just the to-go stuff, which is still nice. It keeps us able to keep the beers going through the fermenters. We did have to send a bunch to local distilleries because we just couldn't use it, and it was high enough that they could make it into sanitizer. So that was cool. But otherwise, we're making smaller batches, making sure that we keep it fresh and try to keep it interesting for people as much as we can. So,
Deal. So I've been hearing more and more stories about not so much breweries, but specifically distilleries that are now actively manufacturing hand sanitizer. And George and I made a trip out to Kentucky in this past fall, and we did see the distilling process. And it follows a lot of the things that that regular brewers do, because you have a quote unquote mash, and then it really goes into just this extreme area where all the alcohol is then burned off and then collected.
Mhm.
So does the same rule apply there? Just maybe I'm getting too far in the weeds here, but there's really enough chemicals within a regular beer to extract enough for sanitizer?
They did specify that it needed to be a certain percentage. It only amplifies the alcohol that's in whatever you're taking. So if you start, I imagine, with too small of a percentage of beer, you'd have to distill it too many times where it wouldn't necessarily be cost effective at that point.
Sure.
But I think they said maybe 7% was what they were looking for.
Okay.
So we cleared out everything that was going to be old at that point, and I think a lot of other places around it too. It was kind of nice.
Yeah. Well, hats off to you guys for doing that. Obviously, there's a tremendous need in the market for that, and you're doing a good thing there. Absolutely.
absolutely.
At least it's better than going down the drain because somebody else had to put all the work into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And you're going to end up with hopped hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
There you go. How's that going to be? Right.
So I want to take a little walk down into the past, because your brewery actually has a special place for George and I, because back in 2015 you guys hosted an event called Sesh Fest for all session beers, and George and I were lucky enough that we got to serve a couple of our early batches there, and I think, George, if I remember correctly, that was the first time that we had poured at an event like that. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely it was. Yeah. I mean, we had done a few things with the JBG afterwards, but that was the first time we got to serve our stuff.
Yeah, that was a very, very cool opportunity.
Yeah, and that's one of the events I think is interesting, especially with the idea that a lot of people are drinking lower ABV beers right now. Is the Sesh Fest idea is something under 5%, something that is still flavorful at that percentage, and we had so much fun participation from the local places. I think between people doing one-offs just for that fest, it was really neat, and the fact that we could get homebrew company or places, clubs out there too, that was fun. I always thought that was fun when we participate in other places and events, and they'd have a good group of homebrewers out there showing off and showing what they could do.
If I remember, because you guys opened, was it 2014? Is that the year it was?
It was 2015. Yeah, it was in April 15th actually was the tap room, and then April 1st was our first distribution.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So you guys have been around.
Go ahead, George.
I was gonna say you guys have been around for a while, actually, as long as our little podcast, and so then I know that as sometimes as these things mature and you guys get to doing this, you start to have cultivate your own yeast and create house yeast cultures and things. Have you guys started to do that or thought about doing that at all?
We haven't actually created a proprietary strain of our own, but we do work with just a few that we rotate through, and we try to vary it up a lot too, because one of the things that we want to avoid as a brewery is all of our beers kind of tasting the same. So one easy way to do that is to vary up the yeasts, and with our scale of things, it's not like we really can't carry a yeast out into 10 or so generations anyway. So because we're rotating them around, we might as well make sure that our beers are unique with different flavors. But we do have some ones that we work with the local yeast company. Omega is our big guy right now that we deal with a lot. But they always have great liquid yeast that we go pick up all the time, and it's for our house beers. That we would rather change almost the some of the grain ingredients than the yeast for sure.
Right. No, that makes sense.
So what's all in the fermenters right now? What styles?
Gosh, what do we've got? We've got the Vienna lager that I was talking about earlier. That's going to be our villain. Bubbling away behind it, I don't know if you can hear. We've got the hard luck, because yesterday was the first batch of 2, so it's already fermenting. We've got the hero of the 2 lagers behind us. That's what I'm drinking here. And then in the far tank, we have our massive political corruption, which is our session amber ale, which is one of the things that actually probably started the Sesh Fest, actually. So we had probably 2 or 3 session beers on when we first started, and that's one of the ones that we've really kept on because we really enjoy them. So
political corruption,
massive.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because it can be applied to a lot of things, but really the name came about because we were really watching the Prohibition documentary, and they thought that alcohol would cause massive political corruption if it were legal. So one of the the prohibitionists' idea was that was their argument. So we thought it was kind of silly. So, but we did look up what the beers were at the time. It was a lower ABV beer, something that they didn't kiln their malts very light, so it was something with color. So it was a nice nod to the time and creating a good session beer that is kind of a brewery beer when you think about it.
I just figured it was being outside of Chicago that did it for you, but
no,
that works too.
People can put whatever they want. They can attribute whatever they want to that.
Yeah. So what kind of a system do you guys have at this point?
We have a 10-barrel system. It's pretty basic. It's a steam jacketed system, but our mash tun it's just a single infusion. We could probably do different stages of mashing if we wanted to. It would just basically be adding more hot water to it to get the different steps. But with the amount of modification on the grains a day, we can get really whatever we want in it. But we just paddle to stir the grain. Pretty simple. And besides that, our brews are fairly simple. They can with an hour boil, we can do a brew in about 6 to 7 hours. So not terrible. I started nice and early to make sure I could all set up for today.
Are you running everything on your own, or do you have a team with you too?
Yes, you're looking at the
oh my gosh.
Since we opened, we've had some people that have assisted, and that was awesome because I always love it when people come in. But we're so small that it's just really not sustainable to have another assistant in here. So
that's no small job though.
Yeah,
man in a 10-barrel system.
Tell me you at least get some of the owners to help you clean up, because I'll tell you what.
Not too often.
Okay.
They do their own thing. I can do my own thing.
Oh man. Yeah. So. Yeah, we're
actually, George.
Go ahead, Paulie.
I was going to say, Brian got his equipment from Virginia, believe it or not. Was it ABT you said, Brian?
Yeah, SMT. Yeah. It's out of Richmond, Virginia. Mm-hmm. So we really wanted to source. They source their steel from North Carolina and then make it in Virginia, and we just wanted something that was in the United States. So that meant a lot when we started, for sure.
Yeah, there. Yeah, I as Polly's alluding to, I'm outside of Fredericksburg in Virginia, so that's about an hour and a half from where I am, and a bunch of the different breweries around here use their equipment, so I'm
Okay.
pretty familiar. Yeah.
Right on.
So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does everything we need it to.
I bet.
Have you seen? Have you guys made? You got your start in 2015. We're now in 2020. Has the setup changed a lot during that time?
The brew setup?
Yeah.
It's really the same. Yeah, we
Okay.
added a couple fermenters, so we went from 2 to 4 fermenters.
Okay.
Besides capacity, we really haven't done a whole lot different.
Okay.
I've been working at a lot of different breweries. I kind of had an idea of what we needed here, especially with the size we were going to do, and it's worked out pretty well. So,
Awesome.
been lucky in that effect.
Okay.
Good deal.
So so this is a decision that's always, seems to be from brewery to brewery, philosophy to philosophy. Do you guys carbonate and serve from your bright tanks, or do you keg it and then serve from there in your tap house?
We actually we keg it and then serve from kegs. And I think really it's not for me anyway. It wasn't more of a philosophy thing as opposed to just a capital startup thing. That saved us. So we started off by renting kegs and doing them on a kind of a pay as you go kind of a service. And so that allowed us not to have the whole cooler full of stainless that we had to pay for as far as bright tanks. So I think it's a great idea. I don't mind that. And there's benefits to both of those things. So I definitely, for me, it wasn't philosophical.
Okay. Sure.
So in the last episode, we do our webcast here every Monday and Thursday throughout the quarantine, and we've our schedule has been uninterrupted during that time, which has been very cool. And the last episode we did, which was this past Monday, we did kind of a deep dive on Polly's history, and your background with Polly plays heavily into that because I understand that you guys brewed together at Flossmoor Station. Is that correct?
We did actually. Yeah, that was. So I met him as he was in the Mug Club, and so he was a frequent there as just a supporter of the local brewery, which was awesome. They had a fantastic Mug Club at the time. I was fortunate to follow a guy that was amazing at a brewery. He's now on the West Coast at Ale Song Brewery, but he and the few guys before him really developed a culture at that place. And so it was neat to meet all the guys there. They really cared about beer. They knew a lot about it. That's when, Paulie and his group of friends would come to all of our tappings, and we tried to make them really fun. We made them hopefully a party that a lot of people wanted to go to. But then just knowing his skills as a plumber and knowing that he wanted to eventually maybe get into the beer industry, it was a perfect idea just to get him in and just, heck, if anything, just have somebody to show the ropes to and to have a little hand every now and then. So it was a fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we at that
great.
time, Polly, were you home brewing at the time, or did you do your first professional batch before you did the homebrew batch?
No, I've been in my first homebrew batch with you at your house when we did that English IPA.
Oh yeah,
right.
There you go. It wasn't too long after that, though.
No, within a few months. It was actually within a few months. I remember the very first time I did it with you dumping a full sack of grain all over the brew house floor because I mixed the mash tun.
Yeah.
I go to pick it up, all over the grain, all over the place floor. I felt terrible.
You have a unique relationship with the mash tun. You have to go in and out of the doors usually, right?
Oh yeah, for when I helped you at your place, yeah. When they first opened, I had a job, so I helped them brew, and his mash tun was a little deep. I couldn't get out. I had to shimmy myself through the freaking scuttle door to get the grains out. And actually, he's got a picture of me, my fat ass trying to crawl out this little hole because I couldn't push myself out of the mash tun.
Oh my
It's kind of funny.
Are there pictures of this somewhere?
Yeah, right. That would be great.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This is too good.
Hold on, I might have one.
Oh, yes.
I think I might. Let me see. I actually made Brian take the picture, to be honest with you.
I was mostly joking when I asked that question. I didn't think they were going to be produced here.
Was that you said last time you miss 100% of the shots you don't take? So
Yes, I stand by
yeah,
that.
I'm glad you told
100%.
So while Paulie embarrasses himself with that picture, Brian, so I guess from that, I'm getting that you probably did do home brewing prior to professional brewing.
I don't think I did actually. So my first, well, maybe I did one, but my first
Oh.
job at a brewery was because I was a microbiologist, and I was hired to. They were having a process issue going on, and they needed somebody to clean it up. And so that's how I initially got kind of into the brewing industry. So maybe I had done like an extract brew before that, but for real, my first home brew was after I'd already, been a part of breweries doing things before. So it was kind of a backwards way to do it, but I guess I learned real quick all grain and never went back after that. So
right.
That's so interesting. We had a similar discussion about 2 to 3 weeks ago, and his story was very similar to that. His introduction to brewing was on a commercial level system, and then he ended up working backwards to learn exactly how it worked on a smaller scale. And
that's pretty interesting. Yeah,
it really is. Yeah, it's the opposite challenge that people like George and I, that have extensive homebrewing backgrounds. We've seen what we've seen, and just all we think of is, okay, on a larger scale, how does this apply? Just thinking the opposite direction is it's a whole different animal.
I think that's an interesting point too, because even at a professional level, those exist. Those different levels exist. Like, Goose may make beer, but their scale to our scale is almost as mind-blowing as from my scale to your scale. And the way they do things on those levels is it starts to separate even brewers from brewers at that point.
You know what? I never thought of that,
right.
But actually, that brings a whole different list of questions to my mind. Have you had that experience? I mean, have you gone to a place like Lagunitas or Goose and operated on a system like that?
Pretty much all my stuff has been pretty small, but I did have the opportunity to work up in Rosemont at the Hofbrau, and their
big system
there is like a miniaturized version of what would be in Munich. Their system was so detailed that they could, with a VPN, they could do the brew all the way up to the first hop edition without even being there. If everything was milled in, it's crazy. But it was so state of the art. I was very impressed. Everything was air actuated valve like the big guys. You're not really manually turning a whole lot there.
Yeah.
But you also are working on a computer screen like they do in the big places. So
I told this story at the last discussion we had around this, but I've had one commercial level brewing experience so far in my tenure as a home brewer, and it was with a small brewery out of Shorewood, and the big learning curve, and I think they're on a 6 or 7 barrel system, I think, and the big learning curve for me was the fact that they had a sophisticated pump system, and I've never operated on my homebrew setup. I'm still getting up to that level, and as a matter of fact, I have some parts here at the house that I plan to put together something this weekend. But being that I've never worked on pumps before, to being in a brewery where that's how all the liquids and everything is transferred, that was a big leap for me.
And I think that'll be a game changer at home too. Once you're able to just flip switches and move clamps instead of picking up vessels and all that stuff, it'll be great. It'll be monumental for you, I bet.
George and I have had countless conversations about that exact same point, and that's exactly what he says to me. Jason, you will wonder how you spent 5 years brewing your own beer and never had this.
Schlepping your own carboys.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I still I'm seeing all the parts, and George is very much the engineer among the two of us. But I think I have enough for this to come together, and I really hope that all this stuff proves to be true. So Fingers crossed. We'll see.
Yeah,
by the end of this weekend.
I just
Jason,
did
if you
my
ever need a
first. Well, that's
ahead,
true. You
George.
got Paulie, man. You got Paulie around the corner from you. I mean, basically, we're talking about a form of plumbing here, so I'm sure he could help you out with it. No, I'm not. I'm not.
You know,
I'm serious.
No, I totally agree with Brian too. Once they started brewing at Brewing Grill and their system, I mean, that's total game changer. I'm just moving hoses around. I mean, the hardest thing I'm doing is maybe picking the carboy up and putting the shelf back in the back room. But everything else is all done by hand. You know, all the water's there waiting. All you gotta do is turn the burners on in the morning. It's good. It's nice. You really need one pump. So yeah, I'll agree with that. But if you need a hand helping, got no problem. We'll figure it out. You know, like I said, I'm helping Uncle Rick out with his setup now too. I enjoy doing that. It's fun.
How is that setup coming along, by the way?
Oh, pretty good. I think pretty much we just got kind of funny last week when I got called away for a minute. Them guys were out there. They wanted to do something, so they kind of came. They were kind of like, "Hey, Paul, come here." I'm like, "What's up?" So they made. I felt like it was like I was a foreman on a construction job. I just had to tell them what to move this here, move this here. I shelved out. All right, I'll be back and see what you guys are doing.
That's a good place to be.
Yeah, right. But it's going on. I mean, I think I got to adjust the hoses because last time we set up, this is before we bought the racking system. So I made the hoses that would work with what we were doing. Now I just got to make different hoses to make them work the way the system's gonna go. So, but it's on its way. It's on its way to becoming a nice system. You know, 2 coolers, that racking system. If it works out, I think I'm gonna drop the money on and do it myself. It's on wheels. All you gotta do is just roll it in and out of the garage. Beautiful. I mean, you've seen the system I use at Brewing Grow, Jason.
Yes, I have. Yeah, it's on wheels.
You know, it's so nice to just pull it out in the middle of the driveway. You just push it right back in the corner of the garage when you're done.
It'll be like your mobile bar.
Oh, you know about this too, Brian?
I do now.
We talked about it at length on the last show. I think the mobile bar is amazing. It's a stroke of genius.
Good idea.
And talk about timely. I mean, when's there a better time for a mobile bar than right now in the middle of all this? Where will the mobile bar find itself this weekend?
I already know.
Tune into Paulie's Facebook page and find out.
and what could possibly go wrong?
I will say who to that. You just got to recognize the house that it's in front of. That's the whole point. I don't want the feds to come after me. I don't want to go to jail for not social distancing or anything like that. And bringing a bar to your house.
I was going to say, I think social distancing is the least of your problems there.
I think the mobile bar needs its own Facebook page.
We were already talking about it. No, yeah, actually, me and the guy that actually owns the bar. We were already talking about that today because I drove by his house today. I had to do a side job over right 3 doors down from him, and he happened to be outside on lunch break. And we were talking about it because it was sitting in his front porch. And if it wasn't raining, I probably would have set it up in front of his house again. It's like, well, why not? What day is it? Wednesday?
What days? A lot of people are feeling that way right now. What day is it again?
Yes. Not alone in that at all.
Yeah.
Yes. Today is Thursday. Yes.
Yeah. So. Oh man.
I got a new piece of equipment today.
Oh, do tell.
I got a hand-me-down little cube fridge.
Okay.
Courtesy of a club member who was moving out of state, had to get rid of it. And so that's going to become my new fermentation chamber after I build a wooden collar around it, because I need a little bit more height than it's got right now.
Okay.
But I know all about doing that because building the kegerator last summer, that's exactly what we had to do.
Right.
So, yes, I think this will be a very, very simple, manageable project.
Nice.
Yep.
All right. Nice.
Back to full fermentation temperature control.
Hey, speaking of,
what's that, Brian?
Gonna do some lagers?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of new things, Jason, how's that root beer coming along? Is that carbonated yet?
It is carbonated. I would give it a letter grade of maybe a C.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, and there's things I like about it. I mean, it's definitely root beer. There's no question about it. So, Brian, a little background. I decided last weekend I was too lazy to do a full beer batch, so I kind of just did some research and I said, you know what, I can do a soda batch with about an hour's worth of work.
Yeah.
And I have this past Christmas, I was gifted with a small little 2.5 gallon mini keg.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yes, I was like, this is the perfect perfect tank for this. So I don't have to do full 5 gallons. Okay, so so putting the actual steps together was pretty simple. You need a couple of wood chips, some syrup, some sugar, and then you have a quick boil and then a 30-minute simmer, and that's literally it. Then it goes into the tank, you carbonate it, and that's it.
Just forced carbonation.
That's right. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was set up, done, cleaned on CO2 in an hour and a half. So, for a first time, I'd give it about a C. I did some spice additions. I had cinnamon in it,
Nice.
which I went a little heavy on.
Okay.
The other thing that I'll get to the last point, but it's a little bit less sweet than you would expect a root beer to be. It's
Okay.
sweet, but not quite as sweet, which is hard to believe because when you see how much sugar is in this recipe, it's obscene.
We make sodas here. Well, we did until there's no traffic, but we've been making sodas here since we opened, actually. So yeah, I know exactly how much it takes to sugar them up for sure. It's a lot.
It is. You look at it like on a table level. You're like, are you serious?
It's about for us, it's about around a cup per gallon.
A cup per gallon.
Yeah.
I got
How
two
much
and a
did
half.
you
Yeah,
put
that's
into
about
it?
right.
Not just
That's
a
about
little
right.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's about right.
I had
Okay.
I had a cup and a half of regular sugar, and then I had 8 ounces of molasses on top of that.
Okay. Right on. Yeah, we one of the first ones we ever did was a root beer. I really liked it, but the problem was the key ingredient that we were able to get but no longer able to get is sassafras bark. That's the
I'm
best.
so glad we're talking about this.
You can't do a root beer, root beer, without sassafras.
Is that because of that one element that you have to extract out of the sassafras to make it legal?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Is that why you can't find sassafras
it's
anywhere?
MBA, but officially. But yes, that's why it makes it very hard to find.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I did this. I did sarsaparilla root as an alternative.
Yeah, and the one I have has both of them in there just to really help. The one I have, I think it probably has 20 ingredients in it. It's insane.
Okay.
So it's very, and we've adapted it over the years because in making it, you wanted to make it as good as you can, and you want to be a little unique, and so yeah, we've probably merged about 3 or 4 recipes into making that.
Got it. Okay. That gives me hope. Here's the last point, and Brian, I'm so glad we're talking about this because I would love to get your feedback on this. I have no head retention in the root beer at all, and in a beer recipe, what I would do, because I don't make any beer recipes that don't have 4 ounces of carapils in it, and that contributes head retention real nicely. Is there a shortcut with a soda recipe to help that along?
That's interesting because root beer is the only one that we actually have too much foam on when we pour it at the bar. So I'm wondering if there's something in there, because typically what the foam is proteins in there. So I'm wondering if, or something to that effect. I wonder if one of the roots is giving some of that in there. It doesn't take a whole lot, for foam, but ours is really, really foamy. So I wonder if it's just a little difference between the recipes that's given that, and we'd almost have to compare them to see.
True.
That one we have has about 20 ingredients in it.
Oh, okay.
It's crazy. It's not, it has it has regular sugar. It's got brown sugar. It's got the molasses. We even add some of the Belgian candy syrup, the little bags.
Yeah,
I think it's like a C120 or something like that. We do that because what we were coming out with was like a medium blonde root beer, and we needed something that people thought was root beer. So we need a little bit dark. So we use that dark candy syrup. But we probably you were talking earlier, I saw your other one, and you were talking about like 3 or 4 roots. We usually use 3 or 4, probably maybe even more. We use cherry, licorice, sassafras, sarsaparilla, and there might be something else in there too. I don't know, but maybe those are what are giving it some of that foam too.
Okay.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, that's a lot of different
Because
roots
the
there.
other
Might be.
ingredients that we used sounded familiar, sounded the same. So I'm just trying to think of the ones that were a little different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, licorice and the sarsaparilla were the 2 roots that I had.
Yeah.
Cherry is. I'm familiar with that flavor, but in more of a birch beer kind of thing rather than a root beer, like a more traditional root beer. But that might just because that birch beer is a pretty common thing where I'm from, is central Pennsylvania. It's like you'll get that more often than root beer. So
And that's blonde.
that might just because of that. More of a what?
Is that more of a blonde soda, like a lighter color?
It's more, you know what it kind of looks like is like a amber ale. It's kind of reddish in color. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Birch soda? Is that what they call it?
Birch beer, birch soda.
Birch beer, birch soda. Okay.
Yeah, and it still uses sassafras, but I think it does have a little bit of birch bark and and things like that in it. It's a different flavor, but it's so good.
Yeah. Scott, you had your hand up?
Oh, I was going to say the same thing that Brian was saying, is a lot of the head retention in beer is due to the protein structures. So when you're making a soda, a lot of times you're not going to have the same kind of head retention. When I make a sparkling water here, and I know that has 0 protein in it, when I make a sparkling water, the head dies down immediately. Same when I'm doing a cider, the head dies down immediately. And if you're going with a commercial root beer made from a syrup, the head on that disappears almost immediately also.
So that might not be unusual, Jason.
Okay. No,
Brian already said all of that
together. So. Okay.
Yeah. So Scott, I actually have a question for you about that because I've been considering using my little 2.5 gallon keg to make some seltzer water and like with fruit in it and things. And thanks to this stupid new craze, when I'm looking for recipes and things, all I can find is hard seltzer recipes. Like, how is it just as simple as water, flavoring, carbonation when you do it, or do you do something different?
No, a recipe for sparkling water is exactly that. I fill up a keg with water, and then I throw it on about 30 pounds of pressure. Because, like I said, you're not going to worry about head retention. You're not worrying about foam. So you can sparkle the crap out of that without,
right.
To say it in a way, you could really push the carbonation on it. And I keep mine at about 30.
Okay. That's kind of what I thought it would be, but it's one of like Jason said, I'm an engineer and a planner, so I'm like, I need to know that I'm not crazy and missing something, So
yeah, I do all the flavoring in the glass also, so that you can change it up.
Oh, you do it in the glass? Okay.
Yep. So it is just pure sparkling water in the tap.
Okay.
No salt.
No salts at all? Like no calcium chloride or anything in there?
It's filtered water, but I'm saying no salt like a club soda.
Or tonic water.
Right. Okay.
Tonic
water. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I'm getting ideas now.
Man,
too.
I'll tell you.
I think I know what
I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, Brian. It's really good.
Well, and like Scott was saying, a lot of times in a brewery we'll goof around with things, and we did just a plain water seltzer, nothing crazy, with a little flavoring in it. But for our employee party, we kicked it up a notch and made sure we had a little something extra for the employee party. I had that on draft with the other 3 beers that we were serving with it. So it's
all right, nice. Yeah, I now know what project number 2 for my mini keg is going to be. All right. We've got a marker here for a follow-up show. There's going to be a sparkling water episode in the not so distant future.
Nice.
So let me loop this back around, because we already have a bit of a marker for a follow-up show from last time. I challenged Jason and Polly to pick out 3 to 4 different recipes that you would like to become your staple recipes that you always have on tap, and how you would like to develop those. So I guess my question to you, Brian, is how did you guys come up with what are your standard staple recipes that you have on tap all the time?
Wow. A lot of it was kind of just the selection of what people liked. We had an idea of what we wanted people, or what we were going to offer, but ultimately, I think that came down to what the feedback was. So, and when you start off, you have all these ideas of what you want to do. So we didn't even have this Five Bridges wasn't even on the menu. Actually, one of our Pro-Am collaborations with a Joliet Homebrewers Guild member was what we made our first culture with that. And after the popularity of that, we decided that we should probably have something like that on for the future. So Joel, I know Joel was the president for a little bit, but Joel came out and helped us brew that after he won gold in one of the local competitions that we judged. So it was really fun. But there were other things. So that we wanted to do. We always really wanted some sessionable beers that we could make affordable. That were really good. We also knew that we wanted an IPA on there, but one that maybe has changed with the times. I think IPAs have undergone one of the more rapid transitions of any beer in the whole 100 styles of beer that are out there right now. And even though our hard luck started a certain way, now it's a lot different, almost like a car model. As it goes along, it needs to modernize. Some other beers are very static and aren't meant for that kind of change. But those are, so I think a lot of it is just figuring out what your customers like, what sticks, and what everybody's hoping that you'll brew again, actually.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've talked with a few other people in the past, and it's kind of a bit of a thing in my head that I'm wondering is, as you're building up a brewery and as you're continuing with styles, how do you balance the idea of making what people like versus trying new things to try to push people's palates a little bit so they don't get sick of you? You know what I mean? So there's
sure, yeah. That's a really important question. And I think ultimately you have to brew what you like to drink yourself, because otherwise it's not going to be very genuine. It doesn't mean you can't experience new styles as a personal drinker yourself and incorporate what you found and what you like about the new styles into your repertoire. I think the worst thing that, at least for me anyway, that a brewery can do is only have 2 or 3 styles. Craft beer for me, since I'm a little older, came around because there were so many new styles. So to limit a brewery based on, even now, stouts and IPAs or pastry stouts and that is just too limiting for all the styles that are out there. So I guess you can always bring in new styles. We've brewed now our hazy IPA for a long time. I wasn't like I was reluctant to that style, but I didn't know where it was going to fit and what was being brewed. I wanted to make sure that we replicated the intentions of it. So that we didn't get a beer that kind of just copied it. I wanted, instead of a beer that settled out after a while, I wanted the haze in the beer to be like a Hefeweizen, for example. I didn't want it to be a rushed along beer. So we took that beer and made it our own before releasing it as something that we called our own too. So I think experimenting with new styles is important, and you have to do that all the time. And you just have to bounce that off of what your drinkers are and what your own palate is to see if you can do it the right way.
Is hazy here to stay?
I don't know if the actual haze part of it is here to stay. I think the way that hops are presented in those types of beers are definitely here to stay. So what I mean by that, I guess
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Haze is associated with the hops, but really it's the yeast thing. Haze is a yeast. You can have a really hoppy beer, and you're not going to have haze from the hop that is as much as what they're calling the haze. So, but what hazy IPAs have done is they've moved all the hops to late or even post boil almost. So what you get is a presentation of the hop that has such flavor and aroma without so much of that bitterness, that I think the presentation of the hop that way is never going away. It's really fresh.
With these New Englands and the hazies and things, sometimes I even wonder if it's fair to even put the moniker. We've talked about this before. Is it fair to even put the moniker of IPA on it anymore? I mean, it's not.
I think IPA belongs on those types of beers because you're following the idea or just the thought of what an IPA is. I think to follow that up, though, I feel like if you start to add things like fruit and vanilla and all that stuff to an IPA, just come up with a different name for the style. It doesn't need to be an IPA at that point. It can be whatever it is. True. It can be fine. But I think hazy and those types of beers still present hops like an IPA should. And I don't think they stray away from it as much as other styles saying they're IPAs.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I have some time.
I think my next goal is going to be to brew a New England IPA without making it hazy.
There you go.
We'll get all world
finding agents. That yeast will come out eventually,
right? But I mean, if you don't throw the hops right into the fermenter when you throw in the yeast, how much biotransformation are you going to get if you let it kind of finish after 5 days and then dry hop?
Well, and that's an important point. That's why we chose a unique yeast strain that stays in suspension, like I was saying earlier, like a Hefeweizen. Yeah. So we don't rely as much on the hops for that as we rely on the yeast.
Like the New England IPA I just made is the London Ale 3, and that one's going to stay in suspension, and that's gonna interact with the hops there. But I mean,
yeah,
maybe that's a goal to see if I can make a crystal clear New England IPA, like a soft IPA without the haze.
You could pick a London Ale strain that's pretty flocculent too. You could not deviate too far from probably what this tastes like already, and just get something. It's a hopping technique. I think is what's so great about those beers.
I wonder if you could carry over some of those juice-like qualities that are very present in a lot of New Englands by doing that.
Why not, right?
I think you just have to experiment with it and just find out. I think it's well worth trying. Like I would applaud the effort.
I think it goes to something like what Polly was trying, and split a 10-gallon batch up to a couple of different sizes and try a couple of yeast on them, see how they perform and how they taste.
Yeah, good call.
I love doing that. I've done that. I did that with 1056 and 1272. I've done that with 2112, and then I forgot the German lager yeast. It's been so long since I did that. I
German lager 3470.
That's my favorite.
No,
me too.
No, I it was a Bavarian. It was a Y yeast because I was still not on my what do you call it? I was against dry yeast for a while there. So, but now that I'm over the whole dry yeast part, just have at it.
It got a lot better.
It did, and like to the point with me, if I'm going to an American ale, I'm just going to use 05. It lasts longer. It's got more yeast. The Y yeast pack.
Seriously.
So.
Okay, so this is the second time, and
go ahead, George. This is good.
So this is the second time in as many weeks that 2112 yeast has come up, and how in the hell, as much of a fan of Rush as I am, have I not used this yeast in anything yet? This is my question.
I can't
don't get it.
For you, George. I guess you have to get some. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's Anchor Steam's house yeast. I believe
it is. It's the California lager. Yeah.
Yep. It's actually really
might
good.
Have to be my next project. Might have to be my next project.
And you'll have to have a Rush reference somewhere in the name of the beer, of course. But I know you already thought of that.
Not what it is, but that it will be. Yes.
Yes.
Here we go again.
Oh man.
I know what I mean.
I need another beer.
So
You guys hold down the fort?
Yeah, man. Go ahead.
oh, I got a BRD here too. Sweet. Sorry, I'm checking my supplies.
Oh man. So Scott, you've been hanging out. Is there any questions you thought of that we haven't been able to address yet?
No, I wouldn't mind talking more about the beer because it's really good. It's a Kolsch style ale because, of course, it's being brewed in the United States, so it's got to be a Kolsch style.
Yes. The government is very interesting about that. So you wouldn't have to put Kolsch style if really big on the side you said product of the USA. So
Okay.
they let certain things
Really?
fly. It's really weird. I saw a post today where Sierra Nevada was getting busted because all they put on there was and other natural flavors. And I felt so bad because like that's what they make. You can only put what they say to put on there. So I feel bad. Like they were told by the government to put that on there. Even if they're real ingredients like molasses or whatever they put in there, they're still told you got to put that on there.
And these are 5.4%, which feels a little high.
Probably a little bit for a Kolsch.
I liked it a lot.
So
We still have to make it appropriate for around here a little bit.
Yeah.
I've heard it pronounced Kolsch and Kalsch and Kolsch, and like, is there? You guys have settled on Kolsch?
Well, I do have a German mother-in-law, and probably pronouncing it Kolsch is not very accurate. It's that umlaut, so it's a little bit of a ooh, but it's a sound that American mouths make. So it's something that you could probably try to do.
Koosh.
But yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's getting into it.
Hirsch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy.
I got a little
I
bit
feel like I'm butchering
German
it.
in my background too.
I took a whole semester of German pronunciation, not German pronunciation.
Did you do it just to be able to drink the beers there?
In college. No, I'm a tenor. I'm a singer. So I had to take an entire semester on German.
That's right.
I forget the word I'm looking for.
Enunciation.
Phonetics.
It was German phonetics. It was German IPA, which IPA when I was in college was International Phonetic Alphabet. And then, I mean, that was 20 years ago. So we didn't know about IPAs 20 years ago. But as soon as I got out of college and everyone's talking about IPAs, I'm like, I know about IPA. Diction. Diction is the word I'm looking for.
Oh, okay.
So I took an entire semester of German diction.
And that's a full course.
Oh,
German
yeah.
diction. Wow,
It
that's
was.
amazing.
It was not. What does this word mean? It was when you see this. How do you pronounce that?
That's amazing. That's a full course. Yeah.
Sounds like a riveting class, though.
Oh, it was super early in the morning too, like 7 a.m. Maybe 8 a.m.
I assume it was basically. Just a music-driven class.
Oh yeah.
Is that what you were?
It was, these are the songs you're going to be singing. These are the classic tenor songs in German. Talk about them. Let's talk about how to pronounce them. But we went to Germany a couple of years back, and we stopped in Cologne, and we had a Kolsch at Gefell Dome, right underneath the huge church there. And it was just a train stop, but I made sure that it was at least a stop, that we had a couple hours in Cologne to get some Kolsch. It was phenomenal. And I came home saying I'm brewing nothing but German beers, and I think for like the next year and a half I brewed nothing but German beers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we got real tired of it at the house. Like we need.
All right, time to move to Belgium.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
I did. I came home and I walked through like a monk. Like that's
And now for something completely different.
Yes.
Right. Oh,
Here's a
man.
stout inspired by not the Irish, but the English. This is a specific English stout. Just as something totally different. Have you traveled to other countries and learned about brewing, Brian?
Yeah, actually, when I first started, one of the biggest recommendations was to go to Siebel and really get your feet into it. So yeah, I did the course over in Munich for a little while. The one that was a combo from here in Chicago and then in Munich. It was phenomenal. I learned a ton, and it really complements. I think brewing is quite a trade skill.
Agreed.
But you really do have to complement it with a lot of that stuff too. The book smarts and knowing a little bit behind the scenes on that aspect really complements the trade aspect of it.
Agreed. How long were you out there for?
It was a 12-week course in total. So we were in Europe for 7, and then part of that was going around and visiting breweries and equipment manufacturers and stuff like that. So.
Oh wow, what an experience!
Yeah, it was pretty cool. When they were talking about it, when we were here before we left, it basically sounded like you won a little prize, and like these are all the little stops you get to make over there, and they're all going to be, curated by the brewmaster or one of your tour guides. It was pretty phenomenal. It was. I didn't have to pay for it, but I'm glad I did it.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Where do I even begin? Were you brewing commercially in the United States prior to this coming up?
You mean at Blue Island Beer Company?
Or just at any, whether it be at Blue Island or Flossmoor or anything before that.
Yeah, so I originally started, like I was talking earlier about, I was testing microbially at a brewery. It was two brothers, and then I went to.
Okay.
I did a kind of a step around. I did Rock Bottom here downtown at the State Street location, and I learned from Pete Crawley down there, who now is owner of Haymarket. He's a phenomenal brewer. And then went to Cleveland Rock Bottom, back to Flossmoor Station where I met Paulie and all his crew. And then it was Half Acre, and then the Hofbrau House, and then Ale Syndicate, and then here.
Okay, that's cool. That's really a resume. Wow. Okay.
It's a lot, yeah. And I think the best part about that is now being able to, once you see a brew system, you know where all the valves are that work certain things. You can kind of get plugged into a lot of different systems, and you're fine. You just need to know the on switch and the off switch and whatever else does.
Right. So can you tell me just one kind of little tidbit about like brewing commercial in Germany versus brewing commercially here in the United States? Aside from the obvious lager aspect, what's really unique about brewing there in Germany as opposed to here?
I think the overall reverence for brewing in Germany was impressive. Somebody there goes to probably a 4-year college to do it. They learn it basically inside and out. And I think they have they have reverence for their own styles particularly. And it's been a minute since I've been there, but I think they're probably good at making a lot of other styles because they just keep true to the brewing traditions almost. And if you know the nuts and bolts of something, you can almost make anything just if you just have the desire to, I guess.
Sure.
So I love the idea that it's very technical. It's no coincidence that breweries in Japan who are very technical also win a lot of medals in the German categories. It's something that it teaches you a lot. They have a lot of discipline in their brewing, And to some extent, maybe the older brewers were just more very adventurous, especially Belgium being next door, and they're like literally the opposite as far as what they think about what you're brewing. But I love the attention to detail that they have, because in certain instances in brewing, it's baking, cooking, and you really need to pay attention to certain things. And maybe you don't have to as much as certain things, but it's in a lot of respects, it's baking, and you need to be exact, and that's how Germans do it best. And I think that's one of the ways that that they treat beer is they're very technical.
Well said. Well said. We're starting to lose your microphone a little bit. Is that something you can take a quick look at? And while you're doing that,
the cooler does come on. So.
I see. Okay. One thing I wanted to touch on, because I did hear you mention Japan when you were talking about that. I'll give a quick plug out there. There actually is a very cool 30-minute documentary on Amazon Prime. It's called Craft Beer in Japan, and Japan has a very, very unique craft beer and brewing culture. It has some noticeable difference from North America and Europe, being that it's an island nation and it doesn't have the same types of agriculture systems that we have here, and also just on a statistical level, the foothold that craft beer has in Japan is significantly lower than what it is here in North America and Europe. But nevertheless, I mean, it's really fascinating what they cover in this short doc. So if you have a half hour to spare, it's well worth your time.
Right on. What's the name of it?
Craft Beer in Japan. That's it. Yep. Yeah, easy enough to remember. How you doing there, George? You all good?
Doing all right, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, Jason, what's the AUT cap that you gave me? That was it a bitter, I think you said?
Oh, what was it? AUT?
Yeah.
AUT, that's an autumn stout. So that's about a 6% stout that I made in late summer, early autumn, and it's flavored with cinnamon, nutmeg, and lactose.
I can get the cinnamon and the nutmeg for sure.
Yeah. It's very
tasty.
autumn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I'm glad you like it. Yeah.
So can I tell you guys an embarrassing story?
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Sure.
So I'm sending you my New England IPA.
Right.
And it was a couple of nights ago. This has been on tap for maybe 8 days, maybe 9 days at the house. So a couple of nights ago, talking to my wife, and she said, "What do you have to do tonight?" I said, "Well, I've got a beer gun up some beer to send to the guys from A Nice Place to Brew," and so she took the kids upstairs, and I went over there, and I hit the beer gun to it and got nothing but foam before it was even properly carbonated, which is, I feel like a good description of what it's been like here in quarantine.
What could have done that?
I have to brew this again for you. No, I'm sorry. I got nothing but foam and CO2. I'm saying that we finished this 5 gallons. My dad, who lives on the same property as us. Yeah. So we were quarantined together.
Okay. Yeah.
My wife and myself all finished this keg within a week of.
I'm sorry. I misread that entirely. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I got to brew it again.
Hey man, good beer is good beer.
It was a very good beer, and we were all drinking it slightly undercarbonated, right? So it finally hit where I wanted it, and I told my wife, like, all right, tonight or tomorrow morning, I'm gonna beer gun this. And then when I hooked up the beer gun, I got sputters.
I feel like an idiot that I didn't lead into that sooner. Oh my gosh!
Nah,
man.
Nothing makes you feel like an alcoholic more than finishing a keg before it fully carbonates.
Well, We can all thank the craft brewer drinker that turned an innocent hobby into making it sound like you're not alcoholic. So
That's right. That's right. That's how I justify it. But I don't have a problem. I have a hobby.
there you go. Just
Right.
hold it up to the light. You're no longer. You're just evaluating.
It's classy now, right?
Right, yeah.
Look at where we are here. It's led us. It's led us to a broadcasting career.
Amen.
Broadcasting career.
Yes.
You guys have a career in this?
I mean,
Not yet.
I guess it could be called.
Labors of love can be careers.
I mean, we have a channel on
Yeah.
YouTube. We have a schedule too, twice a week. So, it starts to resemble a career. There's no money in it yet, but one can hope.
I don't have beer to send you right now, is what I'm saying.
No, we get it.
beer.
We get it.
I have bad beer I can send you. I can literally send you bad beer.
Yeah, no, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man.
Brian, are you born and raised here in Illinois?
I'm not. My dad was. He was from downstate a little bit, but I grew up in northeast Kansas.
Wow. Okay. How long have you been here in Illinois?
I've been here, 21 years now.
21. Okay. Very
Yeah,
cool.
I initially
wow.
came
Okay.
to Illinois for graduate school in microbiology, and just never left because my wonderful wife suggested that I use my microbiology degree to do something in beer. So that she's regretted that ever since.
Oh, what a fun road it's been, right? So anyways, speaking of Illinois, we did gift Scott with his first Malort experience.
Ooh.
And that was
Picture to
done.
prove, the Malort face to prove.
Yes, we did, and it's here on a past episode of the webcast for
Nice.
as evidence for the world. So
Yeah. It was everything you
That is an
would want it
awesome
to be too.
Unique
exactly.
beverage.
There's nothing like it. No
No,
question.
No.
I still have the exact amount of Malort that you saw at the end of that podcast. No,
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
It's almost like it's an inside joke between everybody in Chicago for everybody else it's not.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scott has talked about he looks forward to the end of the quarantine so that he can replicate that experience for all the people he knows in Buffalo.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been recording podcasts just like this on Zoom calls or Google Meets, whatever we have available. And yeah, I would love to drop off a shot to each one of them. That's could you do that? Just drop off a little shot at their house? Maybe I could, right?
We've done that. Polly and I have done that.
Figure this
You
out.
have? What?
Yeah.
Oh, you dropped off bottles at each other's house. He's talking about like a little shot glass.
I'm talking about a shot.
Sure, you get one of those little plastic shot
Do that
glass,
too. Yeah.
Or leave it on the front step. Walk
It's almost
away.
like
It's
you
really
might just have to leave it on their front porch and ring their doorbell and run away.
Yeah. I was
We've-
that's like the bottle could just end up at different places. Each person pours a shot and then either takes the bottle somewhere else or leaves it for someone else, whatever.
It's like a flat Stanley. I like that idea.
You do
Yeah.
ding dong ditch with the
Yeah.
Malort bottle.
Yeah.
Ding dong ditch with Malort.
If we do that, I
That's
will make
brilliant.
sure that you see every single part of it.
Please
Like
do.
yours now.
And you should.
That'll be
You should.
golden.
Saturday is our next recording. I can make this happen. I got to write this down.
Excellent. We think that Portillo's will be next for Scott.
Yeah.
So you can have that experience.
I'm
So
excited about Portillo's.
Yeah.
though.
yeah. So basically we've gifted him with one just atrociously horrible experience. Portillo's is basically like our like, redemption.
Apology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Right.
I've sent you guys some okay stuff, but again, the wings. We got to come up with wings.
Well, okay. When this is over, we're all going to converge on Buffalo, drink a bunch of local beer, and have a bunch of local wings, and we're
Yes.
going to do that. So,
Yes.
yes.
Yep. Do not do it without talking to me. Do not.
Well, of course not. I mean, you're gonna be our tour guide.
Of course. You're gonna be in your town and not.
You show up in
Be like-
Buffalo. If you go to the place where the first buffalo wing was, you're not getting the best buffalo wing, and that's where people are going to send you because they're tourists. They should go there. That's not where you should go.
Right.
You find the best buffalo.
Well, it's not like we would get back home and be like, "Hey, Scott, we were in Buffalo last week," because
This is the
time.
the wing spot that we just spontaneously found on Yelp.
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Just showed up in town. It's like plug into Yelp wings. Oh, 0.5 miles. There we go.
If I come to Illinois, I'm coming in a Garth wig. I'm not a good Wayne, but I can pull off a pretty good Garth.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
I could see Garth. Yeah. There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
No,
Pretty
none
much.
at all.
All right. Oh man. So hey, Brian, you've stuck with us this long. I appreciate that. Do you have anything you want to talk about the brewery, upcoming things you guys got going on, or anything like that?
No. We talked about our next beers, the lagers that were coming out, and my favorite beer is the next one coming up, to be honest, because I always like what's coming down the pipeline. And so we always do seasonal stuff. We always keep it multi styles on the board. We just like to celebrate beer, really.
Well said.
That's great. Well
said.
we're definitely with you on that. So can appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me on. This was fantastic. It's fun.
Oh no, absolutely, man. Yeah, and I just, I'm not sure if we're looking to wrap up, but I just wanted to make sure you got a chance to speak to your. So I know it's Blue Island Beer Company.com, or is it Beer Co? Or
it's BlueIslandBeerCo.com. Yeah.
Okay.
That won't be the last time
so-
we send those out. Yeah, before we close up the episode, we'll go over the website and social media links too.
For sure.
And speaking of that, George, we did
Absolutely,
not lead with that when we led into the show, did we?
That's your responsibility. That's what you do.
You're right. It is. It is.
Oh, hey, Jason, you
Yes,
wanna put some pictures of their brewery up? I'm sure you go to their page. It's got the tap room, the awesome music room they have in back, and so people watching can see
For Blue Island.
Yeah, show off their music room, which is amazing.
I love that place back there. Alan, our my other partner, has really curated that music space well.
And you guys have up until then, you guys are getting some good music in there too a lot lately too.
Absolutely, yeah. Our biggest show to date was probably the Mojo Nixon show, where he's the gentleman on Sirius Radio. He's fantastic. We had him, and it was fun just because of all the lead up for everything, and having something like a national act come through. And between that and some of the comedy we just had Kevin Farley come through because of 350 needing a spot. So we've fallen into having some really cool acts, and it's nothing but fun just sitting back and pouring beer and just knowing that everybody in there is drinking you all beer, and that's it. That's all you got to know.
That's
all right. I found a picture that I just love. Can you guys see this?
Yeah, you have to add it to the stream and select the. There's one that's looks like the side by side with a panel to the right of it below us. Do you see it, Jason?
Nice. Ooh.
There, you got it.
Oh, that's the acoustic jam in the tap room. That's deep.
Bluegrass all acoustic jam. That's awesome.
I like the stand-up bass. Yeah.
First Wednesday of each month.
Is that actually the guy playing the bass might be the guy that's one of the founders of the Frankfurt Bluegrass Festival. Kind of looks like Steve.
Yeah.
I have to look at the picture. Yeah.
Let's see what else we got here.
I missed that. I miss Blue Island. Damn it! Aw.
I miss Blue Island and I miss Bluegrass Fest already.
We will happily come down for a bluegrass festival as a member of a bluegrass band. We will be there.
Really?
Ooh.
You know what? Message me your info because I know people are in charge of booking that. So, yeah, message me your info because we can. I got a pretty good chance. I know a couple people who could probably get you in there. Those putting leagues. How those putting?
Yeah. Hang on. I gotta know more about that. Do you have like a miniature golf course thing going on at the shop?
Where'd Brian go?
Yeah, where's Brian? Is he still here?
We've been talking without noticing.
Oh, we got him out?
No.
Hit. It may only be able to share for. Yeah.
There he's. Oh,
here.
jeez. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I was backstage.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he's coming back.
Okay, sorry, Brian.
I'm not sure what happened. I'm sorry.
It might only be able to show 4 when it's showing the screen.
All right.
So sorry about
no more
that, Brian.
screen sharing. No more screen sharing. Oh,
it was me.
okay.
Oh, it was you. Okay, all right,
okay.
good.
There was a question about miniature golf.
Oh yeah, at one point we started with one because of this really cool event in Blue Island they do. It's called Putts for Pints. It benefits the local the chapter for Blue Cap, which is for developmental disabilities. But it's just a little pub crawl that everybody does. There's 9 places that are invited, and each person goes to all 9 of those and records their putt score. So it's the best putt hole that you can create. It's awesome. We had a really fun one for this year. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it, obviously, but we've won the hole a couple of times of all the best holes. So we have elaborate ones.
I think when we were down there. Go ahead, Polly.
What about the frisbee golf putting league that you were doing? How were you guys doing that? Were you setting up like a little? That's what I was always curious about. I could never make it out.
Yeah, that's separate. That was a group that wanted to come in and do winter putting leagues, so they stay sharp all winter. So they brought in 4 baskets and did putting competitions all winter long for money. So they were like, you win, you get $100 or something. I don't know. It's really cool. Like, did they? 40 guys in the back all putting all night long, drinking beer and having a good time.
Who doesn't love miniature golf?
We're talking this is frisbee golf that we're talking about, Jason.
Oh, you're talking about frisbee golf?
That one was.
Yeah, it's frisbee golf. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. He's got a putter.
There you go.
We're talking about regular miniature golf.
Yeah, I've never played before. Never the disc golf. But I'm inspired to, and when this whole quarantine is over, I'm going to give it a shot.
All right, you could probably do that while quarantined.
Maybe
you can. No, we can, Jason. If you want to get out one Sunday morning, we can. We can do it. There's enough. There's, like I said, within 15 minutes of my house, I got 6 courses.
You're down in the best area.
Yeah, exactly. We got literally one of the, I would probably say, arguably the best courses in the state. By all the
okay.
Let's make this happen.
Yes.
All right, that's fine. So, it's the Canyons is called in Delwood, and it's kind of cool because there's certain holes you actually feel like you're in a canyon, a star of rock on it.
Oh, that's
like
awesome!
With the rock walls and everything.
You can sip a little craft beer along the way too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We don't have anywhere else to go this summer. We should take the camper down to Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should.
We can do it.
Bring
breweries. Yeah. We'll do a tour. We'll do a tour of frisbee golf places.
Yeah.
If Paulie's got 6 within 15, 20 minutes of his place, we could do a ton with that.
That's the camper. Let's do that.
Okay. You're all set up.
This can totally happen.
We bring our own toilet.
Happen.
We are 100% on our own.
Where have you gone in the camper, Scott?
Where haven't we gone? We've gone to state parks and other state parks.
Other state parks and other state parks. Okay.
That's right. All in New York State. That's where we've gone.
No, you won't go down to Pennsylvania though, huh? Or have not to this
We
point?
just haven't yet. It's been
Okay.
a couple of years. The kids
Okay.
are still young. This was the year we were going to go cross country, and then the country shut down on us. So
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that'll change things for sure. Yeah.
Check off all the national parks along the way. That'd be sweet.
we were going to try, but
yeah.
we even bought a new truck. We have a new truck that we haven't been able to use for the past 2 months. It's just sitting there looking new and nice, and nope. We filled the tank on it twice in 2 months.
Oh.
Just start it every now and then so squirrels don't live in the darn thing.
Yeah, yep, that's about it. Listen, guys, I gotta go because my sister's gonna be on Facebook tonight doing some live bluegrass. So I will talk to you guys later.
Cheers to you, sir.
All right, Scott.
Cheers.
Talk to you later, sir.
Hey, this was phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I don't know how to get out. Nope, there it is. All right. Good night, guys.
See ya. How you feeling, Polly?
I'm feeling good. Oh, and speaking of, I talked to Brando. We're gonna have to go probably pick that up on Saturday so we can get this shipped out for next Thursday.
Yes. Okay.
But so I'll you still want to work on that, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah. No, I'll make the trip out on Saturday. No problem.
All right. Yeah, just get a couple 4-packs. Brando said he was good for us one, and I'm like, we'll pay for it. Just don't worry about it.
So. No, believe me, I can totally cover that. Okay. I'll mark that here on my phone right now. Hello, Fred. Oh my gosh.
Fred.
Yeah.
I missed that little girl.
My own Kansas native here. She came from a breeder in Kansas, and
oh man, that's where we got our first party in Kansas too.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is another reason why Brian and I became probably pretty close friends. I lived in Kansas for 10 years, and when we got talking, we found out we were both from Kansas at one time.
Yeah,
he actually
spent time in the Little Apple.
Yep, Little Apple, Manhattan, Kansas.
The place nobody cares about, but it's awesome.
It's actually a fun town. I felt so bad when I went down there last spring. I didn't spend any time in Manhattan. I would have loved to. I'm actually making a point. Yeah, go to Aggieville. I mean, I'll go. They got tall grasses out there now, so I guess they even got a tap room on Points. I didn't know that. You know, when my sister was out there, I told her to get me something from Tallgrass because she was in Manhattan, and she calls me. I'm like, "How about I was rambling off like I knew what we can." She's like, "What about the tap room? This is what we got." I was like, "Oh, well, trying to put me on the spot right then and there, So she got me a good choice. I was real happy with it. It was fucking good. It was a session.
Right on.
Tap room was for walls, Because I looked like when I Googled it, it looked like the production facility was on the west side of town over there by that big old movie theater that was out there at one time, right below the zoo.
Oh yeah, that's a nice spot.
It's how. Yeah, exactly. So I miss that town. It's been almost 20 years since I've been there. I need to go for a weekend.
Is your loyalty in sports still to the Kansas teams, Brian?
Ooh, it's been a while. Definitely for college.
Okay.
I went to K-State only for a year and graduated at Kansas University, so for sure the basketball vibe, especially with all the tie-ins to Illinois sports because of all the coaches we've stolen, and vice versa, I guess.
Yes, both ways. That is true.
It's very intertwined a little bit, but yeah, I've had plenty of other my colleagues, rivalry up about some college stuff, but I think after being here for a while, I'm probably into as much Chicago sports as I'm gonna be.
All right on.
Yeah. So I saw you guys I don't mean to steal your thunder for the next episode, but you guys brought up an interesting topic about what beers you were gonna to bring back.
Bring back
Rebrew stuff. And then maybe if you don't want to say what you were doing, it was a philosophy type of thing, right? somebody, George, you were talking about maybe a philosophy backing to brew new beers or to just brew the same beers, just different.
Well, no, it's more about it's more about just getting a core set of styles of beers and working to perfect those. So rather than change them up and change the recipe, really just kind of hone in on the things that you're doing well, and more specifically the things that you're not doing well, and then how you can improve upon those.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah. A lot of our home brewing journey has been experimenting with different styles and different techniques and things. And so I think, at least for myself, Jason, I think you're kind of along the same lines. Is now is the time to try to refine and hone in. And so that's what I was thinking when I talked about that.
No, I think I'm totally on board with that.
One of my things, I never wanted to brew the same thing again when I was home brewing, for sure, because you only have so much time. You only have so many brews that you can commit to. So yeah, I can totally understand wanting to brew just something new and fun and the next time. But yeah, the one of the things that I really didn't do as much as a home brewer as a professional brewer is just hone that in. And every time you do it again, just if it's just a little bit of just something that bugs you in the back of the head, it's cool to be able to almost redeem yourself in the next batch, almost.
Yeah, I guess that's my biggest problem right now is 100% consistency, really. I remember when I first did it, I do one batch. First time I fell in love with it, I brewed it the second time. I think I did everything the same. It just didn't taste as good as it was the first time. Maybe it's because of that whole, this is something you created and you get to try it for the first time. Now you drink it a few times. Mm-hmm. Maybe that, I guess that was the only thing I could think of. I mean, there's only really one recipe that I brewed, two of them that I brew many times that pretty much stay the same all the time. A wheat ale, and then I do a citra pale ale that I've been doing for a long time. But Brian, if you're getting, I know you're real busy at the brewery, but if you're ever getting the itch, let's brew that English pale. I still got the recipe that we did 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, we've got one particular guy here that keeps asking us for everything English, for be a bitter or anything. He wants a bitter, best bitter, extra special bitter, anything that's in the English lineup he wants to brew. So we can probably do that.
Do I know?
How about Irish beers? Do they count?
Oh, well, probably not to him.
Yeah, probably not.
But
okay.
That's what I'm drinking right now is an Irish red that we did.
Wow.
It was it was one of the ones that we had initially done for somebody else, and they didn't take it. And I was so happy because we got to claim that back for our beer. This starts now. It's so fun.
Right on. That's exactly what I've got right here. Irish red out of the homebrew batch. I had real high hopes.
What we used in that was really fun was we used that new Red X malt from Best. It was so great.
That's what you used.
Oh, yes. Oh, we got to talk about this. Yeah.
Oh, yes, we do. I need to hear about this.
Yeah,
such a good malt. I love it.
It's so unique and so cool. Actually, George came in town in January, and the story was that we made a visit up to. You're probably familiar with this brewery, Kinslager up in Oak Park.
Oh,
yeah. All German style lagers and not exactly traditional lagers either. They do a lot of high ABV stuff, and they go in some interesting directions. It's an amazing brewery. But anyways, they had a beer on tap where they used Red X as the base malt, and the guy who was serving the beer told us about it, and George and I were both like, okay, this is a great beer. I've never heard of this base malt before. And then it just happened to coincide with, the lead up to St. Patrick's Day. And we were like, wow, this is like a golden opportunity if I can get a hold of this malt. Yeah. And sure enough, Brewworks down in Plainfield did carry it. So that was able to come together. Yeah.
You're talking about
Brando's. Yeah. Brando's been not only an amazing shop for us, he's been an amazing source of knowledge for us. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So
when we were first starting, he answered so many stupid questions and didn't make fun of us at all.
When it comes from a place like that of knowledge, brewers just can't answer enough of those damn questions. It's great. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the one thing I think brewers will answer questions all day long about malts and all that stuff. When it talks about business, you're like, maybe ask somebody else. I don't care. give me questions about malt beer, and
then the eyes light up, and then all the gears start turning.
Yeah.
What? Okay, so you have experience with this Red X malt too?
This was the one. This is the first one that we really did. But we kind of researched it a little bit. It's not a single malt beer. We put something in for some complexity a little bit, and but I really like it. I think if we could put this into our normal beer lineup, we would. But we already kind of have an amber, that massive political that is far and above the popularity of this one, even though they're about the same ABV. This one's a lot more rich, I guess. That's what I like about this Red X malt. It really it puts a richness in without with too much sugars, so you don't get really high alcohol beer.
Mm-hmm. Are you okay?
Right, but
you don't have to answer
the
this
body and the color.
Trade secret, but did you use it as a base malt or just a small percentage?
I think at this one we probably use it as a base malt. Yeah,
as a base malt. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And we're not opposed to using a variety of different malts for our base malt. There's a couple of beers that we'll use Munich as our base malt. Anything that doesn't destroy the enzymes and it can still be convertible, we're happy to use it as a base malt if it fits the beer for sure.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that. Those were the exact two base malts I used in this.
Yeah. We use Munich a lot. I love the toastiness without the sweetness that it offers.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that is really awesome, and I think Paulie probably weigh in on this too, is being at a place where you use a ton of malts like he did at the homebrew store, and I've done it at a bunch of different breweries by just using a bunch of grains. You learn so much about them, and you can use them really fluently the more you know about them. And you can taste the beer and I can make that because I know the malts that maybe not the same as the ones the brewers use, but I know what will give me that taste. Yeah. And that's just knowledge, and that's over time, and that's cool to know. And that's that's something that you learn of ingredients. It's really fun. You get to a level that you're like, yep, substitute anything I want. It's perfect. So
well said. Yeah, I had real high hopes that this beer was gonna get an award at either Boss or Drunk Monk, and I do think this is one of the more to style beers that I've made in a long time, and I see George shaking his head because what's that?
Just tweak it a little bit, and every now and then it's going places.
Yeah, if it needs any tweaks at all, and I honestly like that feedback really would have told me if there was a tweak here or there needed, and yeah, if this quarantine ends at a decent point, there'll be more of this left over, and I'd love to get your take on it as well if we can make that happen. So yeah.
I was shaking my head. I had a wee heavy that I shared with Jason, and I was real proud of, and I sent it to Jason so he could drop it off at Brew and Grow to enter it into Boss, and I was like, this has a good chance it's gonna win. I'm gonna get that gold medal, and then all of a sudden the stupid quarantine, and it became
that happened with every brewer in America when it came to the World Beer Cup.
Yeah.
I know.
We totally got our feet kicked out from underneath of us.
Yeah. No, I heard stuff got real dramatic after that announcement.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, what are you going to do? There's no point.
I know. Yes. Yeah. But exactly.
We had really lined up 4 fun beers. We were so excited about this year's World Beer Cup, but maybe we just take a note and maybe tweak some things for next year.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, I mean, it's all you can do. So
yeah. In a year like this, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's sad for everybody. We're all in the same boat. Yeah.
At least you have beer.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. We'll consider this year a loss, and we'll try again next year, right?
Yeah. Where's 2021 when you need them?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, shall we round up?
All right. I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Brian, your website is www.blueislandbeercompany.com.
Beerco.com.
Beerco.com. All right. And we can find you on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those things?
We are, yes. Yes, and we have a wonderful, between between the three of us, we split them up and conquer and divide and all that. We are a very small operation here. We have 6 employees, so
All right, right on.
somebody's
right on.
doing every different job imaginable.
All right. Well, to throw ours out here real quick, we have a website at www.aniceplacetobrew.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at A Nice Place to Brew and Nice Place to Brew. We do the webcast here every Monday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And check us out this coming Monday. More to come. Brian, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers to you, my friend.
Thank you.
All
very
right.
much.
And we send out each show the same way. We raise a glass. Polly, that means you too.
Sleeping.
It's up.
It
Right here.
It takes a lot. It was now in frame. It takes a lot of good beer to make great beer. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
Cheers.